Welcome to the B-Max Sports Podcast.
Hey, we got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives. 30 minutes for the rest of our lives.
Make sure to subscribe on all platforms.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Hope you enjoy the show.
Wake up, boys and girls. Know what time it is. It's Tate and Josh in the morning again. What's up, Josh? How was your day, buddy?
What's going on, brother? Friday. Went out, got my mullet today. Full send. Told y'all I was going to get it. Now I'm rocking the mullet. And honestly, if those of you don't know me, I've grown my hair out for almost 5 years, and now my hair is literally not even below my neck. So big changes today, boys and girls. Big changes. And it's been really odd.
You've never felt more alive, have you?
Bro, this mullet has sent me into a whole new universe of feelings.
Bro, same, dude. I might not ever get another haircut.
No, I swear, dude, I might die in this mullet. Honestly, because every trailer park I step foot into, I'm going to be the king there.
Right.
Dude, I shaved everything but my mustache.
I know, it looks fire, bro. I'm not
everything but my mustache and my mullet. And I had some friends over, and they literally left 10 minutes ago. Shout out to Kyler Garrett. He said, I can bake stripes in your mullet. This cat goes and starts making stripes in my mullet and goes, he goes, my hands are shaking. Jacks it up. So I had to smooth that guy out. So I got one side with stripes, one side that's skint like the Aryan Brotherhood. So I'm in between cultures now. I'm either in the cartel or in the Aryan Brotherhood one.
Multicultural is always good.
Dang, dude.
I feel like that's
what I'm saying.
thing.
I got redneck, I got daggum white supremacy, and some Mexican heritage rolling around.
Shit.
Jokes.
All right, let's jump right into it. All right, so you can see in the draft, in the podcast notes down there, I have military draft. So what I came across today was an article one of my friends shared on Facebook, basically outlining if there was another military draft, should women be made to go to war? What do you think? Should women be treated the same as men and be able to be drafted, like between a certain age, of course?
At this point, I think obviously in this day and age, I think that they should be able to make their own decisions. I don't think they should be able to, I don't think they should be forced to. You can disagree with me about the fair sex, but like I said, I'm not saying they make bad soldiers. I'm saying I don't think they should be. It's something we haven't done. Now, you can have different opinions if you want to, but me personally would not want one of my 5 sisters being forced to go into the draft and fight for our country. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't want it. They're not, and it's just them. Could be a different situation, anybody's situation, but they're not big enough. They're not strong enough. Not saying that I would make it. I'd probably get swacked on the first day because I'd be looking.
Oh, I definitely would. I'd be fucking worthless.
I'd be looking for the first oatmeal cream pie somebody dropped behind them. But
me too.
I'm not saying I don't disagree with it, but I wouldn't want to see my sisters having to do what should be something that shouldn't be forced upon them. I totally agree. Like, if we get into a position of crisis, send us. Like, if you need us, and this is our country, send us. But I don't want to see my sisters or anybody's sisters sent out into a situation like that. I know people who've been overseas, and it's not a fun place whatsoever. And I know there's women that's been overseas that fare just as well as men do. I just don't think, if you're not ready for the challenge and don't want to sign up for it, then don't do it.
Right.
And I understand there's emergency situations like Vietnam, Korea, things like that we have to draft folks. But I think in the sake of just being more fragile with the fair sex, I think it should be their decision.
I agree. I would have to agree with that. I think if it did come to a draft, I don't think we'll ever get there again. We may, but if it did, I think we have plenty of men in this country who would be willing to step up. Risk themselves before they risk their wife or girlfriend or daughter or sister. In this case, I don't think there's a need for girls to be in the draft.
Well, and I'd
If
rather
they want to join, don't have a problem with it. Just go ahead and join. You know what I mean? If that's something you're interested in, my sister was interested in it in high school. I thought she was going to go be a Marine. She ended up not doing it. I was supportive because my sister's a badass, so I would have been all for that. But I agree with Josh. I don't think they should be something they should be forced to do. I think we'll leave the fighting to the men.
Well, and I mean, like I said, bunch of really really strong women out there. I know actually one who's in the Marine Corps that, I mean, that's what she decided to do with her life. That's what she wanted to do, and I think if she's up to the challenge, I mean, send it. I mean, do it. Do what you want to do. But if it's between me and my 5 younger sisters, I'd much rather get my fat ass on a daggum Humvee over there and get smacked instead of them. I mean, I think it's just, especially how many men we have compared to, there's more women compared to men, but when you look at, I think it's a waste of life, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it might just be me being old fashioned, and I'll probably catch some crap for it for saying it. But like I said, if they don't make the decision themselves, I don't see a sense in it. I don't see any sense in it, because there's a bunch of guys out there that are healthy, that are draft ready, that can be trained in a couple months to go out and fight, and they're in fighting condition. So that's just my opinion. You're not entitled to it. You don't have to listen to it, but that's just me.
I agree with you. Moving on, going to talk a little bit about Andy Dalton being released by the Bengals. No surprise to me. You go get a quarterback number 1 overall. You were wanting to build your franchise around it. Why would you have Andy Dalton? I mean, this is a situation where Andy Dalton's been the starter for a while, and he's probably not going to take kindly to somebody coming in there. They've drafted somebody, a franchise, pretty much labeled the franchise quarterback, the franchise future of your franchise in general, not just quarterback. And that's something that could cause chemistry in the locker room to be toxic, I guess I'd say. And that's something you don't want in your locker room, especially if you're trying to be successful. You're trying to rebuild a franchise that's been down for a long time. I think that's a good move by them. I mean, no sense in keeping Andy Dalton around. I have heard rumors that the Patriots and Bill Belichick kind of want him in New England. I don't think Andy Dalton's that good in the first place.
Well, and I mean, when you pick up the number 1 QB in the country, that's kind of just, I mean, that's basically just a middle finger to him. Just be like, okay, we're ready to move on.
Yeah.
So
right,
I think it was kind of like a deal where they didn't want to forcibly push him out and make some kind of scene, but I think it definitely was some kind of motivator to try to get him to go other places. I think they were ready to cut ties.
Yeah, and I mean, it was time. Andy Dalton's getting on up there in age. Hasn't been performing to his expectations, I'm sure. I'm sure he'd be the first person to tell you that.
And
we'll see what Joe Burrow's got. So.
Yahoo Sports is claiming that the Patriots are approaching Andy Dalton in his free agency. Yep. So I don't see it being a good pickup. I really don't. I mean,
I don't think it's going to contribute.
Like you said, he's getting up in age, and I don't see any upside for the Patriots to pick him up. I really don't.
I don't either. And there's several quarterbacks that are free agents right now. And he's probably the last one I would look at. I mean, I'd rather have Cam Newton.
You've looked in the past couple of years, and I mean, Cam Newton's probably one of the better on the other side of average quarterbacks you're talking about right now. I mean, he might not be the best, But I
No, he's
mean,
not the best.
he's shown in the past that he can move the ball.
Right, he's a former MVP, league MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And then you're looking at somebody like Dalton, and you haven't seen anything out of him.
no,
And
not at all.
I think that would be a foolish play by the Patriots. I like I said, I'm no GM. I don't know. I mean, they could have something different in mind for him. It would really be interesting to see if they picked him up, just see what they're trying to do.
Right.
Like I said, with the loss of Tom Brady, they definitely didn't just let him get out of there without having a backup plan. But if Andy Dalton's their backup plan, I don't know what they're thinking over there in the offices. I mean, I really don't.
Right. I mean,
It would,
you went
it
and
would be,
drafted a quarter. Go ahead.
I mean, it would just be difficult for me to decipher what their GM was thinking.
Right. I mean, they went and drafted a quarterback last year. They got Jarrett Stidham, and I mean, he's the kid out of Auburn. He's got a pretty big arm, can move around a little bit, pretty athletic. I don't know what the benefit, unless Andy Dalton's going to be his backup or whoever else they bring in as backup. He would be a decent backup. You want a backup with some experience. You don't want somebody getting thrown to the wolves if somebody gets injured. I understand that.
It would be a mistake to put in a rookie after you had somebody that has got the touches, has seen the big games, but still, I mean, as far as Dalton goes, when was the last thing you saw anything out of him?
I mean, the
I
Bengals
mean,
haven't won a playoff game in a number of years. So, and he's had decent teams where their defenses were decent, and he's had AJ Green to throw to, one of the best receivers in the league for probably, if you look over the last 10 years, he's probably top 5 in my opinion. Dude's a freak athlete. So, I haven't seen much from Andy Dalton. Can't really move. He's getting on up there, taking big hits. The only thing I would say that I would rather have him over Cam Newton is Andy Dalton seems to stay on the field a little more. Cam Newton's a little injury prone, but we'll see. We'll see which direction the Patriots go. But that was no surprise they released him after drafting Joe Burrow. ESPN made it like it was a big deal or something. I was like, dude, that makes sense.
well, I think that if you're the Patriots and you have as much money flowing through that, I mean, gigantic purse they have, that you've got to have something else in mind. I mean, like I said, I'm no big NFL mind. I'm not a GM. I'm not a manager. I'm just sitting here watching from the Yahoo News. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Right. All right, moving on. The Lily World Series has been canceled. All the regionals, the state, all that stuff has been canceled. That's no surprise. But it's unfortunate. I look forward every year. It's around my birthday usually. I think it is anyway, in August. And I like to watch these kids. I like to watch these kids play and, enjoy themselves. That's something they work their whole youth for. So,
Well, I think it's also something really exciting for. I mean, because if you think about it, yeah, winning a state football championship at your middle school is cool, and winning a soccer championship at your middle school is cool. But when these guys get to play that kind of level of ball, and I mean, you're talking about countries come together and are playing this kind of level of baseball. I mean, it's amazing to watch.
yeah, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You don't get that very often where you get to play kids from a whole nother country and stuff like that.
I'm
And Williamsport is, I mean, it's awesome. I've never been there, but looking at it on TV, they have that big complex. All the fans are crowded in there from all over the world. It's something. I mean, you don't even see that in like the major leagues. You don't play a team full of people from other countries.
Yeah,
Now, when you look
you
at like
never
the,
see it.
yeah, like they used to do the World Baseball Classic. I don't even know if they still do that anymore, where all the teams get together and major league players play for their home countries. But Lily World Series is fun to watch. These kids are young, and it's just fun to watch young kids go out there and get after it.
And
So that's
especially when
unfortunate.
you see the really, really talented ones, like like okay, that kid's something special. Like
Yeah, Jake
there's-
Fromm played in it.
yeah, and they won. I mean, if I'm not mistaken,
I can't remember if they won or not.
I can't
I know
remember.
Georgia's won several times.
But I mean, it's just something exciting to watch, especially this time where we don't have any sports. And even if they just let like the parents in or some, and I know that there's a certain uh kind of hesitancy that we have with letting stuff like this go on, but you got to look at who's playing. These kids that are playing are, number one, extremely healthy, extremely athletic people. Now, that's not saying anything for the fans, because I mean, some of those kids' dads could be 300 plus pounds sitting there smoking 4 or 5 packs of cigarettes while watching his kid play football. I mean, baseball. Excuse me.
Eating nachos, hot
I
dogs.
mean, but I mean, it's kind of just like everything else. I feel like it's premature that we just shut it down. I mean, you're not even
Yeah,
looking at starting until the next couple weeks, and we don't really even have numbers in from these past couple weeks. So,
yeah,
and I mean, from as far as numbers go, we're not doing poorly. So, I think it's kind of a premature move to go ahead and just say we cancel it in full,
yeah.
especially with other. I mean, MLB starting talking about getting back up. NASCAR starting talking about getting back up. So
Oh,
I think it's
NASCAR's
just
back up.
I think it's just premature.
Speaking of NASCAR, NASCAR is back up. That's our next topic. So NASCAR announces they will start May 17th, and they will race 4 races in 11 days. But they're trying to stay close to the Carolinas because that's where most of the owners, and their garages and stuff are. So here are the cup races I've got, which is the not men's, Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. And they will race May 17th at Darlington. I think that's a Wednesday. Sunday again at Darlington. 24th at Charlotte, and the 27th at Charlotte. So they're getting back underway. That'll be something to watch on TV on Wednesday and Sunday nights or afternoons, whenever they race. I don't know. So that's the first step in the right direction. I know UFC is going to be on this coming up next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. We're going to get into that a little bit later too. So have you been on Twitter lately, Josh? Josh?
I've been on there this morning. I've had a really kind of jam packed day because I had some guests over. Been trying to get the yard right. Been trying to clean up before everything goes because I'm OCD about my yard. So I haven't been really getting on any social media whatsoever today. So I'm kind of in the dark.
Okay, well, LeBron posted a picture today, and in that picture, he was wearing a hat that said Space Jam, New Legacy. So that's what they're going. That's the name of the new film that's going to be coming out in July. It's supposed to drop July 16th, 2021. It's going to be starring LeBron. Dude, I love the original Space Jam. That soundtrack alone was it was a monster, dude. And then Michael Jordan, the fucking Looney Tunes. Who doesn't love that shit? I can't wait for this shit, yo. Plus, LeBron's my favorite athlete of all time, probably. So I can't wait for that. Will you be watching that,
Well,
Toto?
I mean, if I go ahead and watch the first Space Jam, uh,
You've never seen Space Jam?
I haven't. We might have to get together and watch it someday
Oh
because
my god,
I've never
dude!
seen the first one.
It was on Netflix.
I'm not a huge. I'll go check and see if it's still on there. I'm not a huge movie person, so there's a lot of. I've got a friend of mine who is big into movies. I mean, always watching movies, and he'll start quoting stuff to me, and I'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about because I'm not a big movie person. Most of my streaming time goes to watching TV shows that have a lot of that have a lot of seasons that are well written. So I'm a big TV guy. So
Yeah,
because there's when you have TV programs, there can be a plot that is stretched more than an hour and 45 to 2 hours and 30 minutes.
yeah,
It's just more entertaining to me. So,
right.
like I said, any movies that really need to be watched, especially because I don't know if we're going to be back at work come Monday. You might, just
I'm not.
because I
I'm
don't
not.
know if they're going to be running the 500.
No, they're
But
not.
so maybe next week, I'm not going to have much to do. If you have any movies you suggest me to watch, they're really good. Hit Tate's line, hit my line on Facebook, and I'll try to get it and look at them.
Start with Space Jam. We'll talk about that. we'll talk about it on here. Speaking of, I know I don't have this in the notes, but speaking of TV shows, I just finished season 4 of um Hell on Wheels. Dude, my least favorite character went from what's that fucking the priest name? I can't even remember his damn name. I fucking hate that guy. But what's this? Sam Snow or something like that.
Sam Snow.
It's that. It was Bohannon's friend. Well, it wasn't even really his friend. He was a
Southerner
southern,
that came.
and they made him marshal and shit like that. And they fucking.
What's really interesting about that is because it was kind of a foreshadowing of what Bohannon was before, or I mean during the war and before everything changed. Because if you're watching the TV series, I mean, it's not really going to give it away if you see it, so I'm going to talk about it. You see this guy, and he's trying to remind Bohannon of the old days, and usually you get a couple old boys together. I mean, a bunch of guys. You all have your friends. I mean, I had friends from high school over tonight, and all we talked about was the old days and how much fun we had in high school. Because personally speaking, I had a fantastic high school career. I loved it, loved every second of it. So I mean, it was just kind of like the same deal. Was he was talking about bringing up the past, and at this point in Cullen's life, he has moved past stuff like that. He's moved past his racism. He's moved past. At this point, he does. I don't even think he enjoys killing anymore because
No, he doesn't.
he used to enjoy it. Like it was something that he. I don't know if I'd go as far to say that it sustained him, but it made him feel something.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't mind it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and so one of the main parts, and like I said, it doesn't give away any of the story. So one of the main parts is with Cullen Bohannon's with his new Mormon wife.
Oh
and
yeah,
they're living.
She's so bad.
Yeah, and she's fine.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and get this out of the way. She's fine.
She's fine. Yeah, I might be in love with every person, every female character on TV. I might be.
If she gave me a chance to knock her up in a woodshed like Cullen did, I might have to roll with it. But I mean, back to the talking about the topic. Cullen's friend, and I can't remember the name of him for the life of me, kind of rolls into town, and
Something slow.
They were in the same platoon in the Confederacy, and he starts reminiscing on days where they went through a Yankee hospital train.
Oh, dude, yeah, that was fucked up.
And these guys are wounded, they're injured, but I mean, at this point, you don't have the Geneva Convention, you don't have things like that. So I mean, the Civil War was just disturbing at how these guys, and it shows you how in history we've devolved and our aggression is not nearly as high as what because these guys would literally go into hospital trains, people who have been wounded who could barely move. This stuff is, some of this stuff is based off of real life events that happen. Like, these Confederates just walk through a Yankee hospital and just start blowing people away.
Yeah.
Stuff like that would be considered a war crime these days.
Yeah, absolutely. But this dude is truly evil. I mean, truly, he's a fucked up dude.
And he is. He's a very disturbed individual. But as you go along, there's so much more that's going to come out that you're going to think, wow, this guy's not even that bad. So it's a very interesting TV series. I love it. It's one of my favorite TV series.
It's good.
I started watching it again. My parents suggested Justified on Hulu, and I've been watching it. It's about a U.S. Marshal named Raylan Givens, and I really enjoy that. It's a really good TV show. But I like.
Let me write that down. What's the name of that?
It's called Justified. It's on Hulu. It's a really good TV show. But I like law and crime. I like violent TV shows. So
Me too.
And I mean,
Unfortunately.
this dude is a walking wide earp, basically. In these,
Do you think he could beat up Colin Bohannon?
oh, dude, Colin would stroke him.
Oh yeah, for
I mean, I
sure.
had to say, if Colin's got the Griswold packed, I mean, this dude's a bad guy, and I mean, he's drawing down. I mean, he'd outdraw most people, but I don't know if he'd outdraw Colin Bohannon.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Did you see where Cowboy made comments about the Conor McGregor fight? Did you see his comments?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I've not been on any form of
So
social media today.
well, this was yesterday, but Donald Cowboy Cerrone claims he didn't want to be there against Conor McGregor. Says he struggled with motivation leading up to the fight. I'm not so sure that I want to not believe Cowboy because Cowboy's never come out and said anything like this. He's not a guy to make excuses and shit. Even right after the fight, they went in the Octagon interview. Joe Rogan was in there. He's like, you know what happened? He said he kicked my ass. What does it look like? So I mean, he doesn't make excuses. So I tend to believe him. But we've seen this from Cowboy over and over again. He'll fight, look like a world beater, and then when he gets to the big stage, the big fights, it seems like he doesn't show up. So here he has the chance for redemption when he steps in to the Octagon in UFC 249 against Anthony Pettis. I think this is a great matchup, and I think this fight's winnable for both guys. So what do you think about his claims? Do you believe him? I think I do. I don't know why.
You kind of saw this thing in the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight where Deontay Wilder came out and said, well, I was wearing that 40-pound suit before I came.
Yeah, that's his own fault. What an idiot.
I mean, dude, that's BS. Like, I don't believe that whatsoever. Number one, there's no way his team did not get him to try on that uniform or outfit before the fight. He's had it on before. He handpicked. I mean, these fighters handpick that stuff.
Right.
They handpick it. And it was kind of come down to, I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, and he made the comment that he can put his 9-year-old daughter on his shoulders and walk around Disneyland all day, and it doesn't faze him. Now, like I said, he's not going out and fighting right now the pound-for-pound best fighter in boxing. So, I mean, you can give leverage or take leverage from that analogy. I mean, how you take it. I mean, there's flaws in either way of you taking that analogy, but I definitely think that was BS. I think that Tyson Fury just came in there and knew what he was doing. He was ready. But as far as the Cowboy Cerrone claim was, who's ever ready for Conor McGregor? I mean, we've seen one or two people that have actually been ready to fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the Diaz brothers or Khabib?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I mean, fighting Conor McGregor, number one, the man gets in your head. Now, he didn't talk as much crap this fight due to him and Cerrone apparently having some kind of relationship. I don't know.
I think it's just mutual respect. I
Yeah,
don't think it was.
Like I said, I don't know if they're friends. I don't know if it's mutual respect because, I mean, everybody knows Cowboy used to be a pioneer of this sport and still is.
Right. He's just the OG, and you got to respect your OG. So
I
think Conor understands that.
I mean, me being a Cowboy fan, what disturbs me most about this is just because I thought he would take the loss better. I think it's just kind of dipping kind of low to go into that kind of, oh, well, I wasn't prepared for the fight. And I mean, like I said, I know Conor did the same thing with the Khabib fight.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he said he drank a lot, which, I mean, the man does drink a lot.
He's Irish, man. You're supposed to be able to handle that shit.
I mean, I just don't understand the excuses. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. And Cowboy, like I said, you've never heard this out of Cowboy making excuses.
Yeah,
I've never once.
You're exactly right. You've never once heard it. So, I mean, it could very well be that you didn't train and you didn't prepare for a fight. But in the end, I mean, when all the cards are on the table, is it not your job to be prepared for the fight that you're about to take?
Absolutely, or you're fitting to get in danger yourself.
So I mean, like I said, these guys, especially in this professional level, you're looking at 90% of these dudes are all knockout artists, and you're going to go into something that could very well kill you.
Yep.
I mean, at any given time, one of these dudes could get kicked in the head and bam, they're out like a light, never to wake up again. So
Yep.
what I don't understand is people like that going in and say, "Oh, well, I wasn't prepared for that fight." Well, that was nobody's fault but your own.
But your own, yeah, I agree with that.
So it kind of disappoints me because at this point, and like I said, it's not like I've lost respect for Cowboy Cerrone.
Right.
Donald's a hell of a fighter. So it just kind of disappoints me because he, like I said, when I started following UFC, he was one of the biggest names.
Yeah, he's a bad bitch.
So I was extremely disappointed in Tyson Fury. I mean, not Tyson Fury. You know what I'm talking about.
Deontay Wilder.
Deontay Wilder, when he came out and said, "Oh, that 40-pound." I mean, dude, you knew what it was. I mean, you tried it on before then. I was disappointed in it because number one, Tyson Fury. If you've ever watched that fight, I've watched it 2 times. Flawless fight.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
beat the fuck out of him.
he knew what he was going into. Everybody was like, "Oh, I'm worried about him. He's really heavy this go around." He knew what he was doing. He knew that Deontay liked to cuff up with him, wanted to get up onto him close. So I mean, you put on that extra 20 pounds, just start leaning on him. That's going to take an effect.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think it's kind of ridiculous. I thought Cowboy had more respect for himself. I thought he had more pride than because I mean, there's always pride. You can always have pride in taking a loss well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everybody's going to get their ass beat every now and then.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
for
I
sure.
don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Tony Ferguson. I don't care if you're Conor McGregor. I don't care if you're Cowboy Cerrone. You're going to get your ass beat one day. There's always a dude around the corner that's a bad dude, and there's a high likelihood that you walk around the corner as a badder dude than you are.
Yeah.
So I think it just kind of disappointed me when you told me, just because I hold Don Cerrone in pretty high regard.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, while we're on the subject of UFC, let's go ahead and knock out these fight picks. We're gonna pick 6 fights from UFC 249. We're gonna pick the whole main card and the main event of the prelims. So I just want to read you a little bit. I'm not gonna do this for all the fights, but some of them I did some research on because I didn't know a whole lot about them.
Are we going top from bottom or bottom to top?
Bottom to top. All right, so we're gonna start off with Anthony Pettis versus Cowboy. They're fighting at 170, not at 55. I think they both look good at 170, better than they did at 155. Most of them are, or both of these guys anyway, are getting on up there. They got a lot of fights under their belt, and at some point, your body starts trying to not. When you get cut weight, it tries to hold water. So these guys at 170, I feel like they're going to have more energy, more stamina, more strength. So I like that this fight's happening at 170. So right now, Pettis is 22-10. He's 33 years old, still fairly young, right on the cusp of being out of the fighting prime age, I would say. He has wins over Stephen Thompson, who is a fucking bad dude. Stephen Thompson is a karate expert and will fuck you up. And he also beat Cowboy, but this was many, many years ago. He has losses to Nate Diaz, Ferguson, Poirier, and Max Holloway. He lost to these 3 guys in a fucking... I mean, those are 3 savages, so I'm not holding those losses against him.
I think we're going to be on the same page on this one. Before we read any other stats, I'm going to go ahead and, I mean, as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to go ahead and say Pettis wins the fight.
Yeah, that's who I picked. I picked Anthony Pettis.
I like I said, big Cowboy fan. Don't want to see it to happen because, I mean, going out with your last 2 fights. I mean, because you're looking to the end of Cowboy's career. I'm not saying this fight is a career ender, but you're starting to move downhill at this point.
Yeah.
So
He's way out of his fight prime.
yeah,
Fight
like
prime is usually anywhere from about 27 to right around 33, 34.
like I
That's
said,
your fight
I
prime.
I don't want to see him lose. I don't want to see Cowboy lose, but at this point, I'm going to have to give it to Pettis.
All right. So just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna read off a little bit I found out about Cowboy. He's 36-14, 37 years old, so he's a little past the fight prime. He is on a 3-fight losing streak. But those losses are fucking dude. This is a monster lineup right here. His last fight was McGregor lost. Justin Gaethje lost, and Tony Ferguson lost. Holy shit, buddy, that is a damn murderer's row right there, son.
Oh,
And that's one thing I've always.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. I'm not doubting his skill set.
But when I was looking at his wins, he really doesn't have a signature win. I mean, he's beat Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez is a bad dude. Don't get me wrong. And then Al Iaquinta, he beat him. But this could be a signature win for him. Anthony Pettis is a bad dude.
Oh,
I mean, I
You're
think this fight could go either way. But I picked Pettis. I don't know. I just picked Pettis. I mean, I really struggle with this one, honestly.
Well, and I mean, like you said, and we've made this prediction. I've made this prediction in the last podcast, or maybe the one before that. This fight right here could end up being better than a lot of the main card fights.
Oh yeah, this could headline. This could be like on a UFC fight night.
Yeah,
a fight night card. This could be your headliner, no doubt
and
about that.
I mean, you look at the way that things are set up right now. If coronavirus aside, this could have been a made Carter. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be the main event, but it definitely could have been a co.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
For sure.
Like I said, you look at the people that his last 3 losses. Every one of those guys are knockout artists. Every one of those guys are world class champion. I mean, champion material fighters. I mean,
for sure.
He doesn't have any lackeys on his last 3 fights.
These dudes fight big time guys. They don't take easy fights. I feel like.
But I mean, I'm still gonna have to give it to Pettis. With Cowboy's last performance, the way that he came out, he just didn't come out jazzed. Like I said, I mean, and he could not. I mean, he could, like you were talking about before, he could not have been BSing. He might not have been ready for that fight. Wasn't excited for that fight because I mean, if we're all being honest, there was no hatred in that. And you know what makes good fights? Good fights is because of turbulence in between people, hatred between people, and one or the two guys really, really want that belt.
Yeah.
That's what makes good fights. So, I mean, like I said, it could end up going either way. I think we both made a good bet on Pettis. I think it could be it could go either way. I mean, I don't want to make a huge I wouldn't bet money on this fight is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Not unless one of them was a huge underdog.
Yeah,
you might try to risk some money and win.
I would not bet money on this fight because, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and give Pettis the win, but there's no doubt in my mind that Cowboy could get a knockout in the second round. I mean, this is one of those really interesting fights that you see two guys who are really well-rounded. I mean, they're not world killers, but they're good fighters.
All right. Next fight. I don't know if you know a lot about these guys, but we got Greg Hardy and Yorgan De Castro. Greg Hardy, 5-2, all 5 wins by knockout. He was actually drafted by the Carolina Panthers in 2010, and he holds their single season sack record with 15. He also played for the Cowboys, so I'm partial to him. So De Castro 6-0, 5 KOs, 1 decision. 4 of his 6 wins ended in the first round. This will be his second time in the UFC. That's basically these guys that are still wet behind the ears in the UFC. They don't have a lot of big fights, so I'm not going to go through their opponents or anything like that. Who you got in this one?
I mean, just looking at the stats, you have Hardy, who is 4 inches taller than Castro is. They're walking around at about 10 pounds, 15 pounds difference. His reach is Hardy's reach is 6 inches different from Castro's reach. So I'm gonna have to give this to Greg Hardy. I don't know much about either of these guys, but as far as just looking at the stats and looking at what could happen, I mean, both of these guys, they both have 5 wins.
Right.
Hardy has 1 loss. I don't know if that was a professional loss. I don't know if it was a UFC loss. Like I said, I don't know much.
He hasn't lost in the UFC.
I don't know much about these guys, like I said. But so basically you're looking at two guys who are, I mean, what did you say? He had 3 fights or 2 fights? Castro had 3 fights or 2 fights in the UFC.
This is his second one. He's only had one.
So you're obviously looking. Greg Hardy is a veteran in this fight compared to his opponent. So I'm gonna have to give it to Hardy at this point. Just looking at stats, looking at the experience level. Like I said, they both had. I mean, Hardy's had 6 fights. Castro's had 5. Neither, I
Right.
mean, neither one. All their fights have been in the UFC. So I mean, you never know. Like I said, these guys have not been in the cage in such a big arena for. I mean, they've been once or twice, but not
Yeah,
most.
this is their both first time on the main card, so
So, like as I say, first time on the main.
there will be no fans there, though. There
It's-
will be no fans.
It's going to be really interesting, and it's kind of interesting that you make that point. Is one question I want to ask you: do you think it's going to make that big of a difference with there not being fans? I know if I was about to walk into an octagon and had to fight a guy, and it was just me and him and cameramen,
Right.
I don't know if I could get as pumped as I would be able to when there was thousands of people in the audience chanting my name.
Right.
And I don't think that's a bad argument. I mean, you got to think. I mean, like I said, I've never been in that position, but to me, crowd fanfare would be a huge turn up for me.
Right. I think it can make a difference. It depends on the fighter. Some fighters feed off the crowd's energy. I think Conor McGregor is one of those fighters. Nate Diaz is one of those fighters. He feeds off whether they're negative energy or positive energy, uses it to fuel themselves. But for people that are wet behind the ears like this, I think it may calm them down some. You know, when you go out there, you get that adrenaline rush. You may make a mistake, do something you weren't doing in training, try to overpunch and get caught, knocked out. So I think maybe it'll, especially with these guys, maybe it'll keep them calm. Maybe they won't have all that adrenaline pumping. Maybe they'll fight smarter. I think this is going to be a damn good fight because these dudes go for knockouts. I don't see this one going the distance. As far as my prediction, I got Greg Hardy. I think into the first round, he's going to knock him out. So I got Hardy too. Next fight, Jeremy Stephens versus Calvin Kattar. So let me tell you a little bit about these guys. This is a featherweight bout, 145. Stephens is a knockout artist. He tries to knock your fucking head off. So he's an exciting fighter to watch. But he is coming off a 4-fight winless streak. He's got 3 losses and 1 no contest in that streak. Right now he's 28-17 with 19 knockouts and 2 submissions. So he's got a couple submissions too. Some guys he's beat, or the one guy he's beat that I think is a damn good fighter is Rafael Dos Anjos, RDA. RDA has moved up to, he's all the way up at like welterweight now. And he doesn't look bad up there, but he fought this guy Jeremy fought Rafael Dos Anjos years ago when RDA was a beast. So that's his best win. His notable losses, though, he's fought some savages. He lost to Aldo, Frankie Edgar, Max Holloway, and Cowboy. He's 33 years old, so he's right there towards the end of his fight prime, in my opinion. On the other side of the ring, octagon, you got Calvin Kattar, 20-4, 9 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's never been knocked out. He's coming off a loss as well. He's age 32, so they're around the same age, but you can tell Stephens has much more experience in the octagon. His notable wins, he hasn't really fought any big name guys, so this is a change of pace for him. This is a guy that can fucking kill you with one punch. He beat Andre Touchy Feely is his nickname. I thought I like that guy. Who's a tough guy. He beat him, so that's a good win. His one loss that I was like, damn, that he fought a savage is that Zabit Magma Sharapova or some shit like that. That dude's a savage. That dude will fucking kill you in that octagon. He's a savage. He reminds me of Khabib kind of
Yeah,
with his pressure and stuff.
his ground game is something serious. I mean, you got to look at stuff like that.
So who you got in this one?
Right now I'm looking at the stats. You have Qatar, who has had a 10% win by submission. You have Stevens, who has a 7% win by submission. But if you also look at the knockouts and TKOs, Stevens has a 68% win by TKO or knockout. And
Hell yeah, he goes out there to finish the fight.
Qatar is looking at a 50%. So, I mean, at this point, you see the average fight time, it's about the same. You see the knockdown average. I mean, you're looking exactly the same on that one. And it's a really matched up fight. I mean, the guys both weighing in at about 145 pounds, probably walking around at about 165 when they're not fighting. Maybe 160.
That's probably what. Like
the reach is not that big of a difference. So, just as far as power, I think if Stevens can get this fight under control within the first 2 rounds, he has it. But Qatar, if Qatar can fend Stevens off for the first couple rounds, get him tired out, work him like he knows. I mean, this guy's been studying Stevens for probably the last couple of months. So if he can figure out the way he moves, his time and can keep away from Stevens for a couple rounds, maybe even the first round, maybe even a round and a half. If he can stay away from him and take him to the ground, we might have Qatar winning the fight. So I think this one's a really hard one to make a prediction on. I'm gonna go with the safe bet and go with Stevens.
All right, that's the first one.
I think this one can go either way.
That's the first one we've disagreed on. I got Qatar by decision. I just feel like he's never been knocked out, but I don't know if he's ever had anybody hit him like Jeremy Stevens is going to hit him for a 45-pounder. Fuck, Stevens cracks bitches,
Yeah,
dude.
you're exactly right. He cracks. I mean, the dude.
He hits like McGregor, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at him in the position he's standing. I don't know for a fact. He might be a southpaw, and like I said, if he's a southpaw, that could be a problem for Qatar. I don't know for a fact if he is a southpaw or not. It doesn't say that in the stats, but I'm gonna have to give it to Stevens on this one. I think the knockout power is there. Like I said, if Qatar can stay away from him for the first round, not take too many big blows, not take too many big leg kicks, he will be able to take it to the ground in the second and third round, maybe in the middle of the second round, start feeling him out. So, like I said, it could go either way, but I'm gonna have to lean towards Stevens in this fight.
10-4. Next fight: Francis Ngannou and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Both of these dudes bring it. It's going to be a knockout. There's no doubt. This ain't going 3 rounds. I'm going to go ahead and say that, in my opinion. I didn't really break this fight down because I know both of them. I feel like if you watch UFC and if you're interested in this podcast, you probably know who these fucking guys are. So I'm just going to come right out and say it. Not a whole lot of breaking down. I think Francis Ngannou is one of the baddest dudes in the heavyweight division. I think he's going to knock him out. I got Francis Ngannou.
And I mean, I'm going to have to agree with you. We've seen the way this dude fights, and he didn't get his nickname just being an average fighter. I mean, if you've watched UFC, you've seen what this dude has done. Rozenstruik is 10-0.
He's going to be 10-1 after next Saturday.
Like I said, Ngannou is. I mean, he's proven his weight in the octagon. So I'm hard. It's hard for me to disagree with you, especially with their reach. You're looking at almost a 5-inch difference.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even 6.
Yep. All right, next fight. Henry Cejudo, Dominic Cruz. Like I said, once again, if you watch UFC, you know who these two guys are. Dominic Cruz is the self-proclaimed bantamweight king of all time, which, I mean, he's only lost, 2 times, I think, ever? Fucking ever, but he's been injured a lot in his career. And that's one thing I worried about him. How will his body hold up? Because this is going to be I think this is a title fight, so this will be a 5-rounder. So can he last 5 rounds with his body like that? I don't know. He's done it before plenty of times. He went for all 5 rounds with Garbrandt, all 5 rounds with Dillashaw. He lost to Garbrandt, beat Dillashaw twice. I think Dillashaw probably won that second fight. I'm not gonna lie. I watched it. It's on YouTube. It just came out yesterday. I watched it today. I think Dillashaw may have won that second fight. So, but Cejudo's a fucking world class wrestler, Olympian status. I think he might have won gold in the Olympics one time. I don't know. But he is a master at ground game, and I expect Cruz. I don't think he's that good on the ground, but he's really good at his feints. His movement is unparalleled. Nobody's got footwork like Dominic Cruz. He doesn't get hit a lot, but Henry Cejudo, if he does hit you, he could knock you out, or he could just take you down and beat the living shit out of you. So, like I said, without saying a whole bunch more, I like Cejudo in this fight.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. It's hard to bet against him. You look at the stats. He's obviously shorter. He's 4 inches shorter. His reach is 4 inches shorter. But I mean, he's a savage. I mean, that's all you can say about him. He's in his past fights. You've seen he's an animal. That's it.
He's fast, dude. He's really fast. Dude.
I mean, when you look at folks like this, you gotta, especially in the UFC, some of these guys are good fighters, and some of these guys don't care. And when I say some of these guys don't care, I mean, these guys, if they get the shit beat out of them in the first round, just that taste of blood on their lips is going to make them go even harder. So I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to go with Cejudo on this fight.
Yep. I think that's a good pick. And the main event, it's not a title fight, but it's an interim title fight, so it'll still be 5 rounds. For the interim championship, lightweight, Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy versus Justin Gaethje. This is a good matchup, I think. I like Ferguson. He's real well-rounded, very versatile, very unorthodox, though. His movements and stuff, that's how he confuses a lot of people, the way he moves. But he is susceptible to get knocked absolutely the fuck out. I've seen some of his film. I've watched some of his fights recently, and Kevin Lee was stroking his ass pretty good.
Well, I have to ask you this question before we even start really discussing this, because I know we're coming up on an hour, so we want to be quick. Would you rather see this fight or the Khabib fight versus Tony Ferguson?
I hope Khabib, just because it's been scheduled so many times and hadn't happened. I'd rather see that one.
Do you think it's a better matchup, or do you think that you just want to see it just because of the backouts? And
I think these are pretty equal fights. Honestly, these are two. Khabib and Justin Gaethje are top 3 in the lightweight division. I mean, at the top of that division, you got 4 fucking guys that on any given night could beat each other. I feel like you got Khabib, McGregor, Ferguson, and Gaethje.
If the roles were switched, do you think that Gaethje could beat Khabib if they were fighting?
Oh yeah, he could for sure. He's a savage dude. I think it would be. I think Gaethje matches up better against Ferguson than he does Khabib, simply because Gaethje is more of a stand up and beat your fucking ass kind of guy, and Khabib likes to take you down and manhandle you and make you cry for mama. So I think this is a better matchup for Gaethje. I'm not saying he's going to win, because I'm not going to make my prediction yet. But Justin Gaethje has some of the nastiest fucking leg kicks in the game. if you ask, I watched the interview with Dustin Poirier, who's fought Ferguson and Gaethje, and he's fought McGregor early in McGregor's career. And the interviewer asked him, this was leading up to the Khabib fight. He said, who's the best fighter you've ever fought? He said, Tony Ferguson, because Tony Ferguson's very well-rounded. He said, what's the hardest you've ever been hit? He said, McGregor punches the hardest, but Justin Gaethje's leg kicks are fucking brutal. So if Ferguson can avoid those leg kicks, and if he gets to the ground, I really like Ferguson's chances. If it stays standing, Gaethje is a world-class boxer. He's got world-class stand-up. He's a great fighter. So for my pick, I can't pick against Tony Ferguson, dude. He's got the longest win streak in the lightweight division, so I just have to go Ferguson.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And, I mean, just as far as because especially because of the Joe Rogan experience, I've watched a lot of his fight companions. I've really got into watching Eddie Bravo do his jiu-jitsu tournaments and the way that he does them, because Eddie was one of the first guys to start the no-gi jiu-jitsu tournaments. As far as my knowledge is, I'm pretty sure he's one of the first guys to start that. And even after that, he's made changes to it. He doesn't do orthodox Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And like everybody knows, Tony Ferguson has been training at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu for the entirety of his training camp. So I don't see a day where the man stays at 10th Planet 3 days out of the week and doesn't try to take this to the ground. Ferguson knows that his strong point is, and I'm not putting him down as a striker whatsoever.
He can strike too, for sure. No doubt about that.
Striker whatsoever. But Ferguson makes the dude, I mean, he could pop, but where he's most dangerous at is when he can get you close to them elbows. And when Tony Ferguson gets you in the ground, he's unlike any UFC fighter that's on the face of the planet right now. This man will fight you off of his back like no other. So I think, like I said, even if Gaethje gets him on the ground, even if Gaethje gets him in a bad spot, you're starting to eat elbows to the chin. That's starting to cut you up. You get cut in the eye, you get cut in the forehead, blood starts pouring. At the end of the day, I don't think it's going to end up being a good day for Justin Gaethje. So
I can't wait, dude.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think Tony's going to win. That's not just being me a bandwagon, because I really like number one, his coach, his jiu-jitsu coach. I really like him. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be an amazing fight. But I'm going to have to give it to Tony Ferguson.
Agreed. All right, like you said, we're coming up on an hour, so we're going to try to breeze through the rest of this. We got a couple more topics on the board. One is Tom Brady's All-In Challenge. If you don't know what All-In is, it's basically like a website. It's kind of like eBay, but what you're bidding or buying is experiences with celebrities. So Tom Brady did one. The package included dinner or a workout with Brady after his first home game with Tampa. It comes with tickets to the game, of course, his game-worn jersey and cleats. And this thing netted, I think they took bids on it and then drew a winner. But it raised $800,000. And that put money directly into charities, multiple charities. I think it's a great thing these actors are doing. It's helping out with the COVID-19 relief. It's helping put food on people's tables. I think it's a great thing. And I went on this All-In Challenge just to see what, the website, see what all they had. Dude, they have a fucking date with Addison Rae. For $10, you can pay to get into it. I thought about buying one. I was like, holy fuck. Once she meets me, it's over. Like, it's over.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let me tell you something. I'm just new into the mullet game, but once I hit it with this mullet and this premium stash I got riding, this stash looks like it has its own cocaine addiction. Quoting my good friend John.
I read that shit in the group. That was hilarious. So basically, if you want to enter one of these challenges and help raise money for these charities, all you've got to do is, this is what I did. I went to Google and I searched All-In Challenge, and it's the first website that pulls up. You can go on there and look. It's got like auctions, which is like what you put bids on, or you can just pay for stuff. Like you can actually buy stuff. It's pretty expensive though. I know I've seen Russell Wilson and his wife doing a double date, stuff like that. I think it's great for these celebrities, especially during these quarantine times, finding a way to keep these charities up and going. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's really neat, especially people who you can. I mean, like I said, some people you look at the Gen Z these days, especially idolize people like Addison Ray and
Oh, I do. Whoops.
I was saying, I mean, like I said, that's a fine honey, son. You ain't, I mean,
Oh my God.
they ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I think it's a really neat way to get people involved. Number one, but more importantly, I think I mean, it kind of gives people hope that we can kind of get back into the regular life. Like this is something I could look forward to. Um, I think it's a real adrenaline booster, if anything.
Right.
It's a real morale booster. So, like I said, I think it's a good idea, and especially if all the funds are going back to helping people who were traumatically devastated by COVID-19. So, like I said, I didn't know about this before it come up on the pipe. I mean, before you told me, so that's really cool.
Yeah, you should go check it out. Next order of business, I was watching videos on maybe ESPN today, and I came across a video that fucking startled me. Mike Tyson sparring at age 53. Holy shit. I think this dude could come back right now and fuck some people up. Dude, good God, dude. He hits with such ferocity, dude. He is a monster. He's a killer.
I made this comment to my dad the other day because sometimes when I get bored, I like to go back and watch old fights, especially boxing, because with the rise of boxing today, I've kind of gotten back into watching these old guys because to me, combat sports is one of the best sports on the face of the earth.
I agree.
At this point. So I mean, you look at Mike Tyson back in his day and you look at him fighting, it's almost like looking at a cartoon
Yeah, he
because
was
the
mad
man
big.
is so absolutely shredded, absolutely in shape. It's unbelievable to see a human in that kind of form to me.
Right.
And I mean, he's he's a scary man. I mean, and
He's
what,
violent, dude. He
what
hits with violent intentions.
and what's really interesting to me is if we're going to see people like that now that come out with those, because like I said, it was a different time. A lot of those guys did not have the means of making money that we have today. I mean, we were just talking about Addison Ray. There's no telling how much money she's worth now just by making videos of her dancing online.
Well,
Some
she
of
bought
it,
a Lambo, so
as I say, I mean, she's obviously probably loaded. So, I mean, you think about these guys back in the day, your Muhammad Ali's, your Mike Tyson's, people like that. Some of those guys, the only way for them to make money was to perform at such a level that they were world beaters.
right.
So, it to me, it kind of you talking about that makes me excited for the future of boxing because with the UFC coming around within the past 15 years, boxing's kind of taken a back burner, and nobody's really been that interesting. But I mean, when you have people like Tyson Fury, when you have people like Anthony Joshua, folks like that, it makes you excited to get back into the sport and start watching it because I mean, these dudes are literal killers.
Right.
Ruiz. I mean, you look at this guy, he was a overnight phenom just because I mean, you don't see guys that are in his shape and size knocking folks out. I mean, if you would have seen him and his opponent, you would have never thought that guy was going to knock him out. And even though they had a rematch and he came back and with a loss, that doesn't make Ruiz a loser to me. And I know
Yep.
it kind of goes back. He had the same kind of deal as we were talking about earlier with Cowboy that he came out and said, I mean, dude's been eating tacos and fajitos for the past 3 months and wasn't really taking it seriously. I don't understand why you would be in the position of being a world champion and not defending your belt easily. Like I said, some of these guys probably have never seen fame like this, probably have never seen money like this, so they go a little overboard. But I'm excited to see what happens in the world of boxing within these next couple of years, maybe even the next decade.
Absolutely. Next, we're going to talk about something that's called, it was trending on Twitter today, National Decision Day. I just want to give a quick shout out to all the people, the high school graduates that are going to be making their way to college. Keep your head in the books. Keep your nose down. Make sure you stay out of trouble, of course. Make sure you graduate, get that degree you've worked your whole life for, and help us in society and somehow. Special shout out to one of my cousins, Garrett Spikes, who's going to be playing baseball at the University of Georgia. I have 3 cousins in the class of 2020. Shout out to my cousin Elion Garcia, who will be attending Daytona State College in Daytona Beach, Florida. He's going to the police academy there, so shout out to him. And then his younger brother, who's a year younger but graduated a year early, is going to the University of Florida. Elijah Garcia is going to be a Gator, and he's going to major in biology. I think he wants to be a doctor or something in the medical field. So awesome, guys. Hats off to you guys going to college. It's not for everybody, but, I mean, you're trying to better yourself, and I admire you guys for that for sure. Last thing we're going to talk about, Kim Jong-un has been rumored to be in critical health and even rumored to be dead at one point, I think. But today he made his first public appearance since the rumor started. I don't know exactly what the appearance was, but he's not dead, guys. Unfortunately, we got to deal with this fucker for some more time. Take it away, Josh. What do you want to say about it?
Dude, like I said, I think the world would be a better place without the man. I mean, communism and dictatorships sicken me in every way, shape, and form that they present themselves. And I think the people of North Korea would be better off without him. And there's no doubt that someone just as terrible, I mean, whether it be his sister or I can't remember who might have been there. I think there was a male predecessor that was going to be coming up if he had passed away. It's a sad state of affairs to me that you see a people who are so oppressed by a government or so oppressed by some form of dictatorship, and you see these guys living day in and day out in a lie. Because, I mean, it's been proven that North Korea shows places that they have these really, really nice grocery stores, and they have these really, really nice shopping malls. And then it turns out that it's all a staged lie. These people live day by day in terrible conditions. And it really just makes me thankful that I live in a country that I have my freedom, where even with COVID-19, I could go to Walmart today and buy some propane to come home and cook on the grill. Or I could go to Walmart today and buy a steak if I wanted to. Or I could go and, I mean, do basically whatever I want. So it makes me really thankful for my freedom. It makes me thankful for the foresight of our forefathers. And it makes me thankful for the bloodshed that our brave men and women of the United States military have sacrificed since the beginning. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's a sad state of affairs, but at this point, there's nothing we can do about it. And it's a sad thing to know that there's nothing you can do about it. But like I said, it just makes me more thankful to live in. It makes me praise God that I was born in a country where I have freedom.
Precisely. God bless America, and God bless the whole United States. I mean, it is what it is. But we're approaching an hour and 10 minutes, so we're going to cut this thing off. We appreciate y'all for joining us. It's been a pleasure, Josh, as always. Had fun. And make sure y'all tune in to the next episode. Subscribe, all that good shit. Anyway, y'all have a great day. Peace.
Gang.
Thanks for tuning into the B-Max Sports Podcast.
40, 1, Lindsay, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, Lindsay, stop!
We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Listen, my whole family loves it, man.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
We'll see you next week.
Go rock this thing, huh? Love you, man. Let's go get it.